All right, dude. Let's rock and roll.
Big CEO over there.
What's that?
Big CEO.
Dude,
Just got the emails and everything.
Is that what I was looking at? No.
I don't know what you were doing.
Oh,
Too busy.
dude.
How's it going? Busy day.
It's good, dude. You know what's funny is today I think I'm vlogging my day.
Oh, cool.
Oh.
How's that going to incorporate into this? Or are we just going to take?
Well, I'll probably have Kramer like grab a piece of this.
Nice. Cool.
So basically, we're trying to move him from short form to long form.
Okay.
And so we need like something for him to chew on and like figure out. So I'm like, hey, I'll vlog a day.
I think people really liked your vlogs.
Some people did. It just didn't. Only my core audience did.
Yeah.
So they only get a few thousand, 5,000 views. But like if you do a good job on a long form video, like we did with Chuck's stuff, like 60, 70,000 views. So
yeah, that's nuts. And your subs have gone up substantially.
yeah, it's the shorts.
Because the shorts, you guys are crushing the shorts game. You shared that graph on your public channel. So like, what was the thought process there of shorts?
Shorts are important because like YouTube's pushing them so much, and they're making it easier to subscribe from a short compared to a regular video. Like it's hard to subscribe to a video now, from a video. You gotta like click on the channel and then subscribe. Whereas from shorts, you can subscribe right away. So the objective is get a really good momentum on shorts, and then you slowly bring it more towards business, and still have a little bit of drama in there to where it hooks people in. And so hopefully then a larger audience from the shorts converts into the long form.
Yeah, no, it's been cool seeing like your channel steadily climbed. So I feel like recently it took a pretty quick jump.
We got like 1,000 subs in one day.
Yeah, you guys took a really quick jump. It was awesome. It was fantastic.
Let's see here, I'll pull up this. So
one day
we've had 6.7 million views in the past month.
Let's go, and that's all content, short and long form.
Yeah, all stuff. Usually we have 5.1. That's the usual. So it's just higher than normal. Yeah. Everything's higher. We've had 6.7 thousand subs in the past month, which is also higher than normal. So
nice, dude. You're crushing it. I love it. I love it. We'll get there one day on this channel.
Well, I'm glad that we got something to show for it because we hired like 2 more media people, right? And so I was like, it would be really discouraging if like we didn't have anything to show for it. So it's been good that we've kind of figured out the short game. And now it's like we keep refining it and then hopefully just making it to where it gets closer to business-related topics. Because like we can make drama videos from all the stuff.
Totally.
Right? But they don't convert into long-term media, landscape business course, the franchise, Copilot. So like actually we've got to pay the bills. Yeah. And so how we do that is just like merge the content. And people will see that now that I say this, like they'll see us move it. And like, yeah, you gotta like, be careful because if you do it too fast, you're like, oh, this is not for me. Like I'm out. Yeah. But if you do it in a certain way, I think we can do it. So that's gonna be like the fine line we try to play with. Yeah.
So like phone calls, drama phone calls, complaints, yelling, overhead recovery. Like it's like you just kind of slowly.
Well, it's funny you say that. So like for example, we took a clip of someone else. What the guys do, they find it all. I just spend 10 seconds looking at it. But like they found a clip of a guy that answered his phone in his office, and the lady was like, "You are not answering your phone. I've been trying to call you for 2 days." And we basically try to turn that around into like, here's what you can do to avoid that, right? And lots of different things we're trying to do. And then we like actually give advice. Overhead recovery, for example, the one day is like TMI, like too much information. Like don't give TMI. And in terms of like when a customer calls and she was like, it's $460. I want a breakdown of all the costs. And so like I explain right after that, like why we don't break down all the way. So we'll see how much we can keep doing this because the shorts are getting like, one of them has like 3 million views now. That is like kind of off brand in terms of business, but like it's obviously lawn care related still, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I actually just went out to dinner with my friend Braden. Shout out Braden. Bloom Creative. If anybody needs a marketing agency, he's not taking on new clients right now, but eventually. But we were talking about that, and we were talking about the podcast. And he was going to ask me like next steps for us, and I was like, I think when we get to monetize it, and obviously you're putting me in control of just kind of putting the content out, editing, all that kind of stuff, and then we'll just split when we can monetize 50-50. Is I told him I would just take my 50%, and I know I'll be at a loss, but form an LLC and then just put it all into having someone do shorts for me and like the basic editing. What are your thoughts on that? Is that a good plan of action?
So we found when you cut up a regular talking head only, it doesn't do much. What does well is other clips that are entertaining.
Okay.
Right, because so we took, for example, Dave Ramsey talked about. You sent me the clip. Actually, you sent me the clip of him talking about. So that I found the long form video where he said that, and found a couple others. We took his talking head.
I noticed that,
and they.
I liked it. It was great.
Their short only got like 50,000 views. We took his clip, showed him for the first 1 second, just so it's like, hey, this is Dave Ramsey, and then we put our clips over it. Lawn care, Augusta,
nice.
Like entertaining stuff, and we got that one already has like 600,000, 700,000 views on TikTok, and like across all platforms, probably 2 million views. So it does better than his because we just cut it up correctly, right? So I feel like you can, but you need something more visually appealing unless the talking head is famous.
Right.
So if you see an Alex Hormozy one, you'll stop. Right. If you'll see a Grant Cardone one, you'd stop. But if you don't have that like a celebrity status in the business world, you're just a talking head, and no one's gonna stop scrolling for that. So that's why I think we found a good thing, and that is like how to make a talking head entertaining enough for them to listen.
Yeah, so. That's interesting. Yeah, the Dave Ramsey one was great. It just stuck out to me because like one of the first things he said was he was talking to like a construction guy or home service guy, and he just ripped on him for having expensive trucks. Yeah. So I instantly was like, I gotta send this to Mike. I was like, this is perfect for your channel. Yeah.
So we started to get like, it's only been 3 weeks that I feel like we're nailing shorts now, but we have a pretty good like kind of framework for it. Like it needs to either have a good story, so people mad, sad, glad, screaming something story.
Yep.
Or it needs to have some sort of teaching value. And so, then there's reactions. So those are the three, right? So those are the three different type of shorts you can create. And if someone says something really crazy, outlandish, like he said with the $85,000 Raptors, blah, blah, oh no, the one like the person that shows up the construction site with the cheapest truck is the one that has all the profit, is making all the money. When he says something grabby like that, just the talking head, like him, 50,000 views. You take that same thing, cut it up to like funny stuff or our clips, and 10x it, right?
Right.
So that's kind of like what we've been figuring out. It's like either entertaining, educational. It is reaction, or there's got to be a story, and that's what people follow.
I kind of want to pivot here because I was thinking about your most recent upload that you did. You said, how would Warren Buffett view small business? And you kind of give like 4 core principles that he followed with investing and to make his wealth. And someone commented that one of your negative comments was essentially that like you're just like using his content to like, you're just regurgitating his content, even though Warren Buffett doesn't do content. But in a sense, you're just regurgitating what he said and like come up with something original, like, who are you, basically? Someone just, an internet hater from the rafters.
Did you see my comment?
Yeah, your response was fantastic. I should pull it up. But I've had personally like issues with that, and I feel like because I'm now, very early into the content game, but I think even thinking back to my senior's thesis when I was writing, my 25-page defense paper, I sat down with my advisor and I just said, like, I can't come up with anything new. And he was like, well, you're not supposed to come up with anything new, but you're supposed to create an idea, and it could be someone else's idea, but form it in a way that you can argue it and you can defend it.
From your perspective.
From your perspective, exactly. And do you feel like content, like, do you hate on the people that just suction off of other creators and just use their face, use their likeness, use their content to get big, or are you fine with that?
Ultimately, you can use people's faces or names to get clicks, but like actually finding an audience that's going to listen to your content, you have to have good content, right? So there's plenty of people that have like either no face channels or they just rip off like clips of other people essentially. But there's no audience being formed around that. And if anything, you're simply actually just promoting the other brand. So like in this case, I'd be just promoting Warren Buffett if I was really using his stuff. The bottom line is the 4 principles I talked about has nothing to really do with Warren Buffett.
No, they're more generic.
It's generic, and my whole point was trying to take the stock market principles and use them in business, right? And so, I think it's like there is no new thought really at the end of the day. There's different ways of phrasing it, different ways of packaging it. And it comes with almost any product, unless you're literally creating something revolutionary, like groundbreaking technology. It's not new. It's a different perspective. It's a different way of packaging it. And there are people who have made billions of dollars doing that. And like my comment back to him was, that's what the news is.
Right.
It's simply reacting to everything that's happening in the day.
Yeah.
They don't have any original content. And if they were, then it'd be called fake news. That's what original content in the news is called, fake news. And so, I think, the value is taking someone else's perspective or happenings or advice and then adding a perspective. So my philosophy for me when I'm doing business reaction is like, how do I take something that's not in business and then relate it to the small business owner, right? So I was taking the stock market and trying to apply it to a small business owner.
Yeah, no, that's smart. I think that's just something that I feel like probably a lot of us struggle with, especially if you're not like naturally geared towards creativity. You're like, I don't have anything to add. And it's almost like accepting the fact, like there's nothing really new unless you're on that far, far edge of progress. Otherwise you are just regurgitating other things that have been said or repackaging or restructuring or adding your flavor to it. So I think that's something that like I've struggled with. And I know other people that I've talked to that like want to get into content space are like, well, I don't have anything to add. Right. And it was like, I've always wanted to do this podcast with you, but I've also in the back of my head had that thought of like, well, like, why do people want to listen to me? You know, it's just like, it's a weird like bridge to cross, I guess.
You just have to add value, right? So like, that's why it takes so long usually to figure out content is because you got to find your voice. Then you have to find what unique value you add to the conversation. Like there's a gazillion how to start a lawn care businesses, right? The unique value, honestly, like I've always just said this and it's like, we obviously want to figure out content more and more, but the bigger my business gets, the more people will listen. It's just the straight facts.
Yeah.
And so, by doing that, that is the value I'm creating is the authority by which they will then listen.
Right.
And so that's why I've always been like, the business comes number one. The content thing will figure itself out because you build a big enough business, everyone wants to come watch.
Totally.
And that will bring people around, right? There's a reason why, for Alex Hormozy, his first year of content, every single video started with, I built a business to $100 million in revenue every single time.
Yeah.
Like that was the message because he needed to create authority to be able then for people to be like, oh, I should listen to him because of that. And so, because all he's doing is adding his own perspective and spin on philosophy, business, principles, and all those principles are generic ones packaged in a different way. Right. So. Yeah.
Oh, that's good advice. I like that.
Like some people say work hard. He says like, time under the bar.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, that's it's like, no, it's
so
just,
cool.
It's work hard.
Yeah.
Work hard, put your head down, grind. Like it's all the same stuff, but repackaging it is what makes it so valuable because someone hearing time on the bar makes a lot of sense to them versus just like, oh, you should work hard.
Yeah.
So it's not to say that it's less than or worthless. It's like extremely valuable to repackage and add your spin on things. And so it just, the fact that matters, you have to have why should someone listen to you and then what value you add during the time that they spend on listening.
I think it's important to remember that everyone has their own perspective and that they're going to resonate with someone different than someone else. Like I'm sure there are guys out there that like love Keith Gelfus and Brian's Lawn Maintenance because they've decided they're going to be a solo operator forever or maybe one or two employees and they think you're great, but they just don't connect with you. And then same thing, there are people that like connect with you and they're like, yeah, Keith and Brian are great, but like I don't connect with them. So it's just different strokes for different folks, right?
Yeah. And what people sell. So when it comes to content, you don't make money on ads. Like you do make a little bit, but not a lot. Like what you make money on is all the other products and services you sell, right? So what type of audience you're also attracting is important, right? So someone watching a Keith or Brian's video, they're not going to come buy a franchise from Keith or Brian, right? They're not going to, do a lot of what I require or ask of my audience. And so the level of expectation that I have of confidence that they need in me needs to be reflected in my content, right? And the businesses that I build and the authority that I bring. They don't need a lot of authority to sell, say, a contract or a template or something like that. And not bashing them.
No,
they
definitely
don't
not.
need to build their business to a certain point to be able to do that. They can sell an ebook or a course or whatever. There's just no way they're going to sell a franchise.
Totally.
Right? There's just no way they're going to convince someone to spend tens of thousands of dollars or do. And so I have to have the business acumen to make sure that people can have confidence. And that's why I've always just told the media team, like, hey, what we're doing here is important, but like the business come first.
Right.
And so, because people will listen if you build a big business.
Yeah.
Like there's some pretty stupid billionaires, but they'll say something and everyone's like, oh my word, that's genius.
Fantastic.
And it's like, no, not really. Like if you just took away the fact that his name and how much money he had, you'd be like, okay, whatever.
Yeah. It's all fugazi.
Well,
it just doesn't make sense.
It's like the classic, I forget who said this. They said, it's like someone you go there to chattering away at like an event and talking or whatever, and you're like, man, they're just like so annoying, or vice versa, they're not saying anything, they're just kind of like reclusive, whatever, and then someone leans over and says, hey, by the way, that guy's like worth 10 billion, and all of a sudden your mind just totally flips. Either A, okay, now I'm gonna listen, or B, I wonder what he has, and like I gotta listen, like what has he got. It's the same exact person, it's just simply now you have different data. And so the data point of like building a really big business for me is important simply due to the fact that people will listen.
No, that makes sense. Yeah, and that's just want to be 100% clear. That's not a knock on Brian or Keith.
No.
Like you've had multiple conversations with both those guys. I've gotten to meet Brian, phenomenal guy. Brian and his wife, had a conversation with them. Lifelong goal, though. I do want to do a podcast with Keith. Maybe without you. I feel like
don't do it.
I've had multiple people tell me they're like, dude, you and Keith on a pod would just like so. I don't know. I would love to just have a one-on-one with him. Keith, just let me know. I have a lot of respect for you.
Deep thoughts.
Yeah, dude. I learned a lot about estimating from Keith, honestly.
Yeah.
Great estimate tips. Like fantastic advice.
Yeah, dude.
This is just a general reminder. I put it in my notes in case anyone forgot. It's tax season. So, just do your taxes. Yeah. How's that looking for you? How's your tax bill? You getting or owing?
Well, I don't know yet because we haven't. I usually don't know till October almost. So
that's fair.
We got to do the accelerated depreciation thing and the 1031, and so it'll be end of this year. But I did my prepayments last year.
Nice.
For way too much, dude.
What's your tax bill look like to like the person who does your taxes? Would you care sharing or? Give me like a range.
I'll tell you what my prepayment was. So my prepayment for last year, I did 2 sets of 120 grand, so 240 grand for my taxes. I hope I don't have to spend all of that. Like I hope I get some back after that because of the 1031, the accelerated depreciation. I'm hoping to get back. Yeah. So yeah, we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
I don't think about taxes a whole lot.
Totally.
Like in the grand scheme of things, and it's so bad to say this, but like $100,000, like it's not worth me thinking about it too much or trying to bend my brain around it. It's like you need to focus on top line, you need to focus on the team. And the problem is all that money I'm getting taxed on is basically just the working capital required to stay in the businesses that they grow. Right. So, it's just part of the game.
Yeah. Different strokes, different folks. I've gotten into some disagreements with people on this, and you may disagree with me, and that's fine.
Taxes?
But taxes, okay. How it works.
Okay.
I pay way too much. I don't have an LLC. I don't have a business, but I go to a professional tax preparer because for me, it's that peace of mind. It's just here's all my documents every year. He sends me a folder and February.
$400 or something.
Yeah. And he just sends me a folder every February. I get everything together and I just give it to him. I don't even have to think about it. Yeah. I just sign a piece of paper once a year, and it's like so worth it. And like I've had that conversation. People are like, "Dude, I do my taxes." Like friends that are like married, like my wife and I, like no dependents. Are like, "Dude, I do it on TurboTax for $70." And I'm like, "Guess what? I did it for $400, but I didn't stress for 1 second. The only stress I had was, is his office open today or not?" Yeah. Like that's my philosophy on taxes. Just give it to someone else. So I don't know.
I spend tens of thousands of.
Oh, totally.
That's stupid.
Yeah.
But you got to it's more a matter of peace of mind, knowing it's done right.
Totally.
Like if I try to do my own, I don't think I could do my own taxes now. I don't think I could.
That'd be nuts.
So,
you could. Yeah. You probably just wouldn't get all the right breaks and correct.
Yeah, like they just need to show me one thing and I can make it back.
Yeah.
So like the accelerated depreciation should save me $140,000 at least. Mm-hmm. So they had told me early last year, like, hey, you should do an Airbnb so you can claim that you. And I'm like, okay, cool. So
sure,
it helped.
So I know we teased this last week because it was happening live while we were recording, but the CEO of TikTok was testifying in front of Congress. It was like the Commerce and something division of Congress. I don't even know. But anyways, he was testifying in front of Congress because on March 1st, Biden was like, we're going to ban TikTok, essentially. And so now Congress had all these hearings, and what I want to do is kind of go through it. And I think I don't want to reduce it up front, but I've done a lot of research on this, watched a lot of YouTube videos, read a few articles, and I feel like the big argument here is capitalism versus national security. I feel like that's at the end of the day what we're arguing about. But that aside, I found a New York Times article, tried to get a pretty generic, overarching article here, and I just want to hear your thoughts on TikTok.
Okay.
So generically, before I start this conversation or this article, what are your thoughts on TikTok? Obviously, you post on it, so.
Yeah. So I'm in general just not concerned about my security, my privacy, and that sort of thing. And like, I've been okay. I've never had like identity theft. You know, like I don't do anything crazy though either. So you know, if the Chinese government wants to, you know, tap into my phone right now because I have TikTok, I say, hey, what's up, bro?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what to say. Like, you know, them listening to me go to the bathroom, is that going to like somehow put me in jeopardy? I don't know. Like, the bottom line though is like data is power, and so if they have all that information and your contacts and all, that can be used against you, I guess. But I think in general, like we're all just like conspiracy theorists. Same thing with AI. People are way over the top.
Yeah.
About what AI can do and like, is this AGI and all the rest of it. So in general, I don't think it's a big issue. I think what's going to happen is they're going to have a subsidiary in the U.S. that becomes where they can prove that everything is in the U.S. in terms of the servers and the data is stored here and it's not being tapped in by the Chinese. But like the first question that they asked him, he just bombed it.
Yeah, what was it again? Did
you talk to any member of the CCP prior to getting on this panel, like being talked to today? And he like could not give an answer. It was like, dude, you just bombed. Like you didn't have an answer for that?
Yeah.
Like you could have at least had some sort of generic something. Like they should have thought through all that.
There's probably was a good amount of prep that went into that.
Yeah, but that question should have been thought about.
Totally. I agree.
Like, so what are you going to say when like someone from the Senate asks if you talk to us?
Yeah.
That should be probably something to think about.
I agree with that.
So that was dumb. So that was just a bad strategic move from the Chinese and the CCP and TikTok. And I think what's going to happen, they're going to have to sell off the U.S. side. And then in the name of national security, we'll have a capitalistic monopoly on it.
Yeah. So this is a New York Times article. It's from 1 day ago, and it is why countries are trying to ban TikTok. Governments have expressed concerns that TikTok, which is owned by a Chinese company, ByteDance, may endanger sensitive user data. So essentially, the White House told federal agencies on February 27th that they had 30 days to delete the app from government devices, and then a bunch of states followed suit as well, and governing bodies across the U.S. On March 1st, a House committee backed an even more extreme step, voting to advance legislation that would allow President Biden to ban TikTok from all devices nationwide, private and public. On March 23rd, TikTok's chief executive officer, Mr. Chu, was grilled about the app's relationship to its parent company and all the blah, 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 China, CCP, everything that you just said. So why are governments banning TikTok? New York Times explains that it all comes down to China. Lawmakers and regulators in the West have increasingly expressed concern that TikTok and its parent company may put sensitive user data, like location information, into the hands of the Chinese government. TikTok has long denied such allegations and has tried to distance itself from its parent company.
So here's the thing, though. So first and foremost, China has been this way for decades about U.S. companies.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Right? So like, it's not like we're doing anything weird or new to them, right? So that's one side of the argument, by the way, is like people don't realize that like Google doesn't operate inside and Facebook, and like, it doesn't. It's closed off.
There's no Meta.
So
there's no Meta China.
This is Apple's, we are like, doing exactly what they do to us. If this happens. The second thing is like, if you're not in government, why would they care about what you're doing? Like, I totally get this for government. Totally.
Yeah.
Like I would agree with 100% if any country could access the data of the phone outside of your country that you are working for. Like that's a problem. It's literally as if like grounds guys and U.S. lawns could tap into your computer and then like, I'd be okay with it. Like, no, I wouldn't.
Yeah, 100%.
But you work for me. So like I could say something about it. Whereas like, some other Joe Blow, they're gonna like, who cares?
Yeah.
Right? So like I think if you work for the government, yeah, it's a big deal. Tracking someone's location, like, why is that important? Like, why is my location important to anybody?
Yeah.
Like, who cares? Unless you're trying to like stalk me, but like, why would you want to stalk me?
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I've thought the same thing, and you pose an interesting question, which the article says, well, why have countries banned TikTok?
You can see your it really pushes you to share contacts. Like every time you log in, it asks you to share your contacts. Yeah, there's a whole bunch of stuff. It can see you across other platforms and other apps. It can, yeah.
So Congress is trying to ban TikTok. Some members would like to. In early March, the House Foreign Affairs Committee voted to approve a bill that could grant the president the authority to ban the platform entirely. Courts previously stopped this when the Trump administration tried to do this. So that's something that I think people are overlooking too. It's like, well, we already kind of tried to do this to an extent with Trump, and now we can. Maybe, who knows? So the question is, what is the Biden administration doing? TikTok said recently that the Biden administration wants its Chinese ownership to sell the app or face a possible ban. The administration has, which they can't just force a private company to just like sell, or are they saying sell the North American rights? Yes, yeah, that's what I figure. I'm just like, what did they?
Yeah, like it's,
sell.
Yeah, you can't. You take either we're gonna ban you or you have to sell.
Yeah,
right. So like then you get a company like Oracle or something like that would step in and potentially run that, the North American division. And this is my philosophy. This is my hypothesis. There's no money being made on TikTok. That is my wild take. I think it's losing money.
But what would you say to the creators that are literally cashing checks?
They're not. Like, I know because I see the money. It's making a couple dollars to every 10,000 I make on YouTube.
Yeah, but your YouTube is way bigger than TikTok.
No, I'm comparing CPMs, like the cost per thousand.
Okay.
So like, there's just no money because no one clicks to ads from TikTok. Like there's no way. Like, I just think that if they do come North American and they have a public subsidiary and that data becomes public, the amount of money that is being made by that is going to be so much lower than people think. It's taking over, but it doesn't mean that you have an audience click on ads. You don't go to TikTok, like, typically to learn, educate, and find things and search for stuff. You go there to be entertained and waste 10 minutes.
Totally.
Right?
Yeah, 100%.
You go to YouTube, you go to Facebook, you go to Google to find things and to search for things. And that's where the real value from an advertising perspective is. And so not only do you have your demographic that's younger, which is, it's aging, whatever. And there's always going to be brands that want to do branding. But direct marketing, like people clicking on things, that's when you start to make money. And that's what YouTube and Facebook and Google have figured out. And so just because the app is popular does not mean it's making money. And so I think with all the legal red tape that's going to come along with the package, if it gets sold off to a U.S. subsidiary, I personally believe it's not making money. I could be completely wrong because like I haven't looked into ByteDance's finances and stuff, but I have a feeling it's like one of those massive startups, tons of growth, and not making money. That's just my philosophy.
Yeah. See, I saw a prominent TikToker, and he does like more independent journalism and independent news. And he said like, if I produce a story or if I get footage, I'll get paid scraps from like major news media outlets, but I can go and post my own stories on TikTok with my own narrative and my own footage. Like he'll do like breaking news type stuff where he'll like go to big scenes or big events. He lives in a major city. And he said he'll make like 20 times more on TikTok than what he makes on other social media platforms. So is he just blatantly lying, or would you...
I know for a fact that the actual 1,000 to 1,000, like it's not even close.
Yeah.
And so like,
so maybe he just doesn't get interaction on other media platforms.
Well, it's short form content in general. For example, we just made a video that has 2.8 million views, I think, something like that. Probably 3 million by now.
On TikTok?
Nope. This one's on YouTube. Okay. I'm just talking about short form for now.
Yep.
It's a short form video. It's like 50 seconds or whatever. We made, I want to say, $200. Okay. Another video that we did that's long form that has less than half of that made $5,000. Right?
On YouTube.
On YouTube.
Okay.
And so long form versus short term, the bottom line is like advertisers are not willing to put their money behind the short term content because it doesn't drive engage. Like people are not clicking on ads when they're scrolling through short form. They're just not. And so I watched a video the other day, and I was like, all these companies are trying to copy TikTok, and they're finding out there's no money there. So, like, for example, Instagram said they're going to be focusing back on pictures now because they've realized that short form video content, when you're scrolling like that, that no one clicks on ads, and then there's no money there. And that's how these social media platforms make money, is clicking on advertisements. That's their monetization strategy. All right, until you start talking about like $10 per month for your subscription.
Yeah, never know.
$5 for creeping on people. Like that's how they make money. And if it doesn't make money, they're not going to do it. And so, and if they don't make money, they can't share it with creators. For example, Facebook. Was it Facebook? Sick. Was it Facebook? Facebook stopped their creator fund. Oh snap! I just read this. I think it's Facebook just stopped one of their biggest creator funds for short form content. I get paid for long form content on Facebook. Do not get it like less than a couple dollars a month from short form. And millions of views. There's just not enough people clicking on ads.
Yeah.
And so my philosophy is that because TikTok only has that. Now, they are getting the longer form video, and I've been surprised at how many views we get from long form videos on TikTok. So if they can pivot to more of a YouTube side of things, I think they'll do great. Like the amount of money in YouTube and long form content, that's where it's at.
And I am not an avid TikTok user. I do have it, and I'm subscribed to you. And that's it.
Dude, I don't watch anything on TikTok.
And then my wife will send me TikToks of my friends, right? And so like I have an account strictly to do that, and my profile's like user 1278, you know. And
I feel like I had to like download it to learn what was working.
Right.
And that's what I feel like I've done for the past 2 years. Is like I've educated myself enough to now when like we bring on new media teams, like I have a pretty good idea of like this is what that's bad. Like cut this little part. Like I'm pretty like in the weeds when it comes to the editing side because like I understand what the algorithm wants. But
what I was gonna say is one of those more longer form videos, and I don't know because I don't use TikTok on a regular basis. I saw something cool. It said hit this to go full screen,
right? And
I hit it, and then boom, it flips it sideways, and I was like, oh, they're straight competition with YouTube right there.
Yeah,
the fact that you can flip sideways and go full screen and still see comments.
The difference is it is not based upon your social graph. It is based upon your interest graph. So when you get to a TikTok, it's playing a video. There is no user input as to what video you're going to watch.
Okay.
The difference is on YouTube, you click on something and watch it. That is the massive change between these two platforms. Regardless if you use short or long form video, it doesn't matter. When you go on TikTok, you do not know the next video coming up.
Right.
And so what it leads to is the scroll. That's why, in my opinion, until they stop.
Didn't even think about it that way.
Yeah, it's feeding you algorithmically what to watch. And that's why everyone's freaked out about it. Because like if people knew how much AI is behind that, they would be freaked out of their mind. Like the reason that you should be freaked out about how the videos are so so awesome is that they're tracking across all the other apps to know exactly what you like. And if they can read all your emails and like know that you're coming up on vacation, guess what they're going to be showing more of, right? And that, do you think that's going to increase your retention? Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
So that's their power. That's why everyone's been trying to copy that, right? Reels came out massive. Like, it's just huge amounts of investment. YouTube Shorts, now it's monetized. Like they're really pouring themselves into it. And I feel like what's going to happen over the next like 2-3 years, it's going to go really deep. And then these companies are like, wait a second, can't make money on this stuff. And they're going to pull back. And Instagram literally just came out last week and said, we're focusing back on images. They literally said we went too far towards video.
Yeah, which I thought about that, and I feel like in one of our early pods we had talked about that, where I talked about from the user experience, I was annoyed that Instagram had changed so much because I think during my college days I used Instagram a ton, and then I've switched more to Twitter because it's the same thing every single time and has been for the last like 12 years I've been using it, right? It's the characters, that's it. People can attach a 2-minute video or an image. That's it on Twitter. And then Instagram turned into basically a weird, obscure version of Facebook, and I was like, okay, I'm not using this anymore. But it's an interesting point that you made. I guess I've never thought that. That was a light bulb moment for me, that there's almost like this built anticipation of a never ending, I could find another cool video, or I could really see something that I like. Because for me, when I watch YouTube, I'll watch a video I want, and then I turn it off. Like I watched your most recent YouTube video this morning, and then I closed the tab. Because I was like, I'm done. I watched the one I wanted. But on TikTok, if someone sends me a TikTok, 99% of the time, I scroll and at least just see what's next.
And that's why the value of a click or an impression or a view on YouTube is higher. Because you have either intent to buy, right? Intent to click on, versus it is very much by osmosis and like what's next. Like, and you're very quick to swipe. Like the retention graph on our TikToks is like, down and then across because people are just in a habit of scrolling.
Totally.
Right?
Huh. It's interesting. Yeah. So the question that they posed in this New York Times article, kind of getting back to more the grand scheme of why we're trying to ban TikTok is, well, can the government ban an app? Like, can they just ban it? It said, so most of the existing TikTok bans have been implemented at governments and universities that have the power to keep an app off of their devices and networks. Right? Broader government-imposed ban that stops Americans from using an app that allows them to share their views and art could face legal challenges on First Amendment grounds. And let's see. After all, large numbers of Americans, including elected officials and major news organizations like the New York Times and Washington Post, now produce videos on TikTok, excuse me. And then they had an expert, like a social media expert, quoted here in the article, and they said, in democratic governments, the government can't just ban free speech or expression without very strong and tailored grounds to do so. And it's just not clear that we have that yet. Like, we don't have the clear grounds to say blanket ban on this app. And I feel like I generally lean that direction because I'm like, well, I hate saying this term because it's so like hot button in politics, but it feels slippery slope to me. It's like, oh, we just banned that app. Well, let's ban this app. Well, let's ban that app. Well, let's ban this video form. And it's like, whoa.
Yeah, I don't think they should get involved.
Yeah.
It's like, look, if you really know and believe that there's actual risks to the American population, make us aware. Just give us the information.
Mm-hmm.
Just tell us about it. Right? That should be, buy the front newspaper, put a public thing out there, doing a State of the Union that this is the thing that they're doing. We can prove it by X, Y, and Z. Here's the footage of the CEO basically saying he talked to the CCP. If you don't want the CCP looking at you throughout your device and don't download it. Otherwise, here it's available. It's up to you. We live in a free country. I think that's what we should be able to do.
Yeah, but that would be nice. But I feel like you haven't been living in the U.S. for the last 3 years.
I know.
I mean, that's COVID restrictions, right? It was like, well, just give us the data. Like, tell us how bad it actually is. And then you were getting all these different articles and positions and doctors and institutes all disagreeing with each other. And you're like, no, just let us make a decision. And they're like, no, everyone's getting the vaccine.
Yeah, now we get to see how well those COVID restrictions worked.
Right. So same thing with TikTok. TikTok is technological COVID. It's also from China.
Let it run.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of like, hey, if you actually have the proof and the data, show it to us and let us make a decision. The problem is we don't believe them anymore, right? Because they don't give us the data and they don't give us all the information. It's all politically charged.
Yeah.
Like the reason that this is such a hot topic, honestly, is because both sides of the aisle can make this a political talking point and make a big issue of it.
Yeah.
So
yeah, they're like, not enough's going on. we
yeah,
gotta have something to fight about.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah, there was one congressman, I want to say from North Carolina or South Carolina. Have you heard about him? He's been doing TikToks. He's been doing weekly. He'll do like a live stream on TikTok. He gets great retention, and people have loosely compared it to like Roosevelt's fireside chats, where he was like, all right, Great Depression, I'm hopping on the radio and just telling Americans the facts. And so when they had their emergency meeting on banning TikTok, he went on TikTok Live at 2 a.m. And he was like, here's what just happened. Let me tell you. And you can go watch it. It's the video still posted on TikTok. And I watched it and I was like, that's a really cool approach to government. Like, and he's like, I'm pro TikTok because like it gives me access to my constituents. It gives me access to the whole United States. I'm live right now at 2 a.m. Like, this is a very important way for us to disseminate information to the average American. So I thought that was kind of cool.
Honestly, the free market just fixes everything. I think that's why government needs to stay everything because, like, for example, if there's not being money made on this platform, it'll eventually not be able to compete, right? If people really are doing risky things with people's data, people will eventually find out and stop using it. The same way that advertisers stopped using Facebook after like Cambridge Analytica and all this Facebook stuff, right? So like the truth always wins and comes out. And I think that like the government needs to shut up and like let us do our thing and give us information, right? Like in the perfect world, you have open book management with the government. Let us make our decisions. And you give us all the information. Tell us what COVID is. Tell us what the harms are. Tell us what the percentage of us dying is, and let us make a decision as to whether or not we get a jab. Don't give us a passport and tell us we have to do it to keep our job.
Right.
Like that's not your business.
Yeah.
So
I would have to loosely agree with that one. So, yeah, that's TikTok, man. I don't know. I think it's a cool app. I think what I said at the beginning, the preface of it's like capitalism versus national security. I think to an extent, yeah, if we can prove that they are mining data, taking data from government devices and government facilities, 100%, let's ban it. National security. Like, I like being safe in my own country, but like for me and the average user, like who cares?
Yeah.
Who really cares?
Yeah.
Like if they're doing something right, if the product works. But my last thought on this. Sorry, I was going to bring this up earlier. I forgot. People do say though, I have heard this. I think it's proven that under 18 in the US, you get pushed like just dumb, stupid content.
Less educational.
And then in China and other countries, it's more educational and science and math and reading and like literacy. And where in the US, it's like fights and sports and like cars. So yeah. I don't like that. But I mean, hey, they can do what they want. They're a private company.
But again, like you can reinforce the algorithm, right? Because like it's only feeding what we like and enjoy, right? And so over there, if they were feeding them content like math and science that they did not enjoy, people would log off. So here, we just happen to love cars and sports and stupid stuff. So like, I think it's a whole different systemic. Like they get pushed into education from their parents, and like that is something that is so ingrained in that culture. It is very generic, whatever. But
so I guess I should feel good about myself that Dave Ramsey pops up on my TikTok.
Let's go.
I'm in the right algorithm.
The boomer channel.
Yeah, seriously, that's me, dude. I have someone do my taxes. I use E-Trade. I'm basically a boomer. Let's switch it up. I know on your main channel you did an update video, but maybe you got some more details for the C-Suite Unfiltered audience. The headquarters, HQ, Augusta HQ. So you recently went by. We got a ton of building material stacked up. They built an access road to the well. So we're breaking ground. Yeah,
hopefully not breaking ground yet. I'll be celebrating when that's happening. But yeah, no, we're just waiting the main building permit now.
Okay.
So I think it'll go up really fast once it's up. Knock on wood. Or once it gets going, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah. So when's expected move-in date?
I've stopped thinking.
Expected move-in month.
I would love
quarter. Give me expected move-in quarter.
Honestly, I think Q2 2024.
Okay.
Realistically.
Cool.
Yeah.
It was like, what was it? Q4 of 2022 was the expected.
That was the expected. Yeah.
That's fun. Sorry, I'm not trying to I know it's a tough topic, but people want to know,
we just got to think about a second building already, or like something else, right?
Yeah. So we'll get there. Yeah. Figure it out.
Because we'll be filling it up. Our square footage of the current facility is equivalent, if not greater than command center at the headquarters. So, because we have training facility, studio, all the other stuff there as well. Mm-hmm. So it'll just be like full from basically day one.
Can we do like bunk desks, like bunk beds?
Yeah, you just stack them up.
Yeah. Like planes have been working with that concept. Like if I can put like a passenger here and then a passenger here.
Oh yeah. That's
kind of like double decker style.
Let's go.
Without double decker, we could try.
I'd fly in the office.
Yeah, dude, it'd be great. Dude, office drama non-existent. Everyone gets along. It's a perfect world.
Oh man, gotta love it.
Gotta love it. All right. I mean, that's really all I got. You want to just throw a little non-financial advice out there?
I thought you were going to talk about guns.
Well, I mean, or we could just save it till next week.
I just want to throw this episode under the bus. Well, let's talk about China and guns.
All right. I mean, if you want to.
I was looking at buying a semi-automatic the other night.
Oh, this guy.
I don't have one.
It's basically illegal now in Washington. It's like on the verge.
It's actually harder to get a concealed permit than it is to buy one semi-automatic.
Yeah, concealed permits now in Washington State. You have to do a course, a state registered course.
Yeah, so I got all that stuff.
It's like a couple $100 or something. So
yeah, I got that stuff, but like it's somehow easier to buy a semi-automatic rifle.
Yeah.
Wow. So the problem with me is like, I don't have anywhere to really shoot it.
Yeah.
So like
property.
Yeah, I know. The thing is like I'll go up to a Baker potentially like once a year.
Yeah.
But I think it's important to have one.
Yeah. Fair.
I gotta flex the Second Amendment right.
Yeah.
So we got.
So you want to talk about that, and not necessarily in light of recent events, but that is why I did have it on the show sheet. Was unfortunately, I'm sure everyone's heard the news, and there was, and I hate saying another, but there was another school shooting down in Nashville. 3 adults, 3 kids were killed, and still getting details right. So I don't have all the specifics, but potentially a former student, ties to the community, came back and. That's all we know. And then the officers responded and took out the shooter on site. Yeah. So, I'm just going to throw this out there first, and then we can get into the actual issues. The fact that like all officers have body cams now is mildly concerning because I already saw the body cam footage on every social media platform. I'm like, I guess it's good we're releasing it to the public, but I think there's a lot of people that shouldn't see that. Like it's very, like I watched it because it sucks you in. And I was like, why did I watch that? Yeah. It's so sad. So your thoughts on, because now it's going to turn political, right?
Yeah. I generally just think the government should stay out of everything. There's so many issues that we face because the government gets involved. Mm-hmm. Like COVID would have been less of an issue if we didn't shut the economy down. We let people just either work or not. Mm-hmm. The government sometimes prints money, creates inflation. Because of that, now we have banking crisis. Mm-hmm. Now when it comes to guns, for example, it's like, okay, look, in the jaded world that we could live in, you're basically trying to take away our power so that way you can tell us whatever you want us to do. And I would typically say that's a jaded point of view, but that's what you did during COVID. Mm-hmm. You came and said, we cannot open up our businesses. You said we cannot work if we don't get a shot. You told us all these things, and you were willing to force us. And I was threatened to go to jail because I opened up my gym.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're going to do that, you can't expect me to just somehow relinquish the one thing I have against you, which is a gun.
Yeah.
And so if you're going to strip your citizens of all legal power to come against you, you better believe they're going to stick to their guns.
Mm-hmm. Literally.
Like I did that.
Yeah. I mean, I think I generally agree with you. I think it's a horrible situation. And I don't want to speak for you, but I think it's, would you agree to the statement that, because I think I don't want to characterize you too holistically, but I know you lean more conservative, if you will. So do you feel like with gun rights and education on firearms, does that come down to, would you say, like a family unit at that point? Or like who regulates guns, who educates on guns? So obviously you said you believe in Second Amendment. Cool, check that box. But who regulates, who educates?
It's like in my opinion, this is like I'm not super educated on this perspective, but I just think in general the government should get involved. However, cars kill more people than guns,
mm-hmm.
but we do require to have a driver's license,
mm-hmm.
and that driver's license can be revoked if you drive under the influence,
mm-hmm.
if you crash into somebody and you're doing stupid stuff. Like it can be revoked,
mm-hmm.
right? And there should be certain agreed upon principles that require someone to have that license revoked as a driver.
Mm-hmm.
And so if we're going to ban guns because of how many people it kills, we better go ban cars and soda pop and potato chips. So I think it's just simply a matter of there's a license and there are agreed upon rules as to how that license can be revoked. The same way that you go to driver's ed, you take a test, you're registered, you have a license number, all of that should carry over.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, there's going to be people that drive without a license and do stupid stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, there's going to be people that take a gun and do stupid stuff with it.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel the downside of not having a gun and banning our citizens from having guns is far greater than like the country as a whole, the patriotism of what we stand for. And it's horrible to think that there's going to be hundreds, if not thousands of people shot and killed. But I promise you, the people that are doing that are going to get guns or some other mode of killing people.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm sorry, there's other ways to kill people than guns, and some of them are worse.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, if someone has that kind of evil in their heart, they're going to do something stupid no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
And so we can restrict guns all we want, but I just can't help but think this is depowering citizens so that when we tell them they have to do something, now they don't have anything to do,
mm-hmm.
right? And I got my gun during COVID when it was like, okay, so they're going to convince me that I'm going to go to jail. They're going to threaten me with lawsuits. They're going to show up at my door. They're going to call me. They're going to harass me. They're going to tell my employees not to show up to work. They're going to do all this other stuff. And yet I'm not supposed to have like any power whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sorry. Like, I don't believe the founding fathers of the United States would agree with that. Okay, Lee, you jump in the hot water now.
No, what I didn't want, like I said, I wasn't trying to characterize you or, explain your belief, but I think what I said is it comes into the family unit to educate when it comes to firearms and anything that involves public safety. Like, and even saying that, to me, I'm like, firearms don't involve public safety. Like a private citizen owning a private firearm does not impact public safety. Only the outer extremes of those people that get firearms illegally and legally, then that impacts public safety. But I think for me, growing up with lots of military men in my family, and firearms were just kind of part of like the culture, which I know some people hate hearing that, but it's like, no, firearms are part of the American culture. You can hate it, but it is. It's ingrained in the culture of America.
And everyone's like, well, what about in Europe and all these other stupid countries? And they're like, oh, like they don't have any gun violence or whatever. It's like, okay, let's just stop. If we take all the cars in the U.S., guess what? There should be less deaths of cars.
Yeah.
Right? Also, I don't want to have anything to do with what those countries do. I'm from America.
Yeah.
I'm proud of it, and I think we've done a pretty good job. Did I tell you about my debate with a socialist the other day?
No.
Oh yeah, dude. I so wish I would have recorded it.
All right.
So I was down in Fairhaven.
Okay.
They have this little stand set up,
mm-hmm.
and little prop up stand with a banner. It says "Join the Revolution." Like the name of the website was Socialist Revolution, I think is what it is.
Okay, cool.
.com.
What's up, comrades?
So I'm like, oh man, I gotta talk to these guys. So I go up and talk to them. So it was a good little debate we had. It was great. And by the end of it, they packed up their thing and left. Nice. I got debative, like combative.
Yeah.
Right? And they're like, why are you so unhappy? I'm like, I'm not happy. I'm just debating with you. And they're like, why are you debating? I'm like, because that's what we have in a democracy is like two opinions that collide, and somewhere in the middle there's like probably the right answer.
The Socratic method.
Yeah. And like we should debate these opinions and ideas. Like, because if it can't be debated, then it doesn't have much value.
Right.
And so for example, this is the one that I really drilled on because he was just horrible at debating. And I'm used to going to Westerns. Like I went to Western Washington University, liberal to the max, blue to the max. All right. I went to the most part, like, so inside of Western is Fairhaven College. You create your own major. It is where all of that world comes from. And every liberal thought that goes to your brain is literally born out of this element of Western Washington University. Every single, like I remember I was going to college throughout what's it called? Do you remember the very first like gun violence, the black thing? I forget his name. I'm blanking on his name. It started with a T.
Trayvon Martin.
Trayvon Martin. That happened when I was going to college. And that was a big deal, man. Like I'm telling you, people screaming in some of my classes because we had like debate classes and stuff. And it was intense. But anyways, all of that to say, I know where all this stuff comes from. And I've now, being outside of college and outside of that group think mentality, and being able to challenge those ideas and like figure out that they don't hold a lot of weight, some of them. So socialism, they're like, so he's like, you know what? The technology's already there. We should all be driving electric cars. And I said, I agree with you. We should all be driving electric cars. I said, here's the problem. Number one, how are we going to create the batteries? He's like, oh no, like the technology. Like I'm like, no. You have to create lithium, like lithium batteries, and it creates way more pollution and way more child labor and issues mining lithium than fracking in the United States for oil. And then I said, okay, let's just assume that everyone today, the government's like, we're going to buy you all electric cars. I'm like, guess what's going to happen to electric cars? They're all going to triple in price. Just like we've seen. The government gave everyone money and everything went up in price. I'm like, what's the inflation from right now? He's like, well, all these greedy companies raising their prices. I'm like, no, it's not. It's because the government told them they had to shut down and we all got back 12 months behind. And then at the same time, they gave people money and said, oh, go buy stuff that is not being created. Like, let's increase demand, reduce supply artificially. That's going to jack the prices up. Yeah. So I had a little fun time with them. By the end, they literally packed up their table and left. I was so happy. So happy. We got a little animated.
And that's political discourse with Mike Andes.
Yeah. So all of that to say, they were like, so you think like the current system is good? I said, no system is perfect. I said, there's no socialist. And so I said, show me one socialist country that's like succeeding financially and their citizens are happy.
And they went Scandinavian.
No, they said there's no true socialist company.
Oh, well, that's the second option.
Right. So I said, why do you think that is? I said, why do you think that is? They're like, well, because, there's never attainment. We're always trying to go for it. I'm like, maybe there's a good reason why capitalism has worked for hundreds of years, and yet you can't find one instance where socialism has even worked or even is relevant or has been demonstrated in your mind. Because they think like everything should be shared. There should be not like everyone just works for each other and all that stuff. And so, yeah, it was a great time. And at the end of the day, I basically said, you all, I was pretty hardcore, but I was like, you guys do not recognize, because I asked, how many of you have been outside the country? First of all, 3 of them had never even been to Canada out of the 4. All of them were mostly just in the U.S. That's all. I said, you guys haven't even been to Europe. You haven't even been to Africa. You haven't even been to Asia. You don't even know what it's like outside of America. So you've been in your little bubble, and you're going to find every issue that you can find inside of our bubble without realizing it's really, really good. And that's why for someone like myself, after going to college and then going to Africa and then going to Europe and doing all this, is like, oh, everyone that's like squabbling has never been outside of our country. Yeah. And they know how great it is. And so when people start trying to tear apart the things that made America,
no,
great.
No.
Like when they start trying to tear those things down, whether that be freedom of speech, whether that be freedom of the press, whether that be able to bear arms, like when they start tearing that stuff apart, it's like, that's what makes me mad. Yeah. It's like you're trying to default us and compare us to the Europeans. I don't want to be like the European countries. Yeah.
I got trains, bro.
And I don't want to do it. So, anyways.
Yeah, but their train system's so cool, man. That's like their big thing.
And healthcare, like there's always pros and cons of every system.
Of course.
But I look at the results, baby. Like before COVID, there was negative interest rates in Europe. negative interest rates, deflation.
Yeah.
We were like, so anyways, people just need to get out of their bubble, dude. They need to figure out bigger problems than the stupidity that we try to boil up and conjure up when we're worried about TikTok in the US. Like, seriously, there's bigger problems than out there, man.
Yeah. I agree with that. I think you need to get outside the bubble for sure. Even go and see in different parts of the country, because that's the thing where as soon as you have a gun debate, kind of going back to what we talked about, as soon as you have the right to bear arms debate, it's like, well, you have these big cities making laws, and they don't even realize that in like Montana, it's like culture to just have guns because you deer hunt and you turkey hunt and you go pheasant hunting, like whatever kind of hunting. It's just like ingrained in the culture. Like when you're of age, like you get a gun and you go hunt with your dad in those parts of the country. And then you have people in major metropolitan cities and I have friends, like I moved to Chicago and they were like, no, like I hate guns because like I think of like friends that I know that have gotten killed in gun violence. And I'm like, okay, let me hear your perspective. Like that is valid. Like you clearly have experience with guns that I don't, and people don't get outside of their bubble.
The thing is, like, when you tell your citizens, and like I went to Seattle during the whole like you must have a jab or you literally cannot get into a restaurant.
Yeah, yeah. Like, I went to try to go to a restaurant.
It went too far when you say you can't eat because of something we're telling you to do. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry, I'm gonna be a little bit revolting against that. And then when you tell everyone to do something, and it turns out after the fact, it wasn't the best interest of the people, and shutting down the economy wasn't. And the thing that you told everyone was going to like create immunity and like fix everything and be a vaccine, which a vaccine solves the problem. Mm-hmm. It's not. And now the companies that made that vaccine, it's been proven now they've just been made rich and they've just been pumping this thought so they can keep pumping these bad boys out. I'm sorry, I have no trust in what you're saying. And so if you want to take my gun, all of a sudden I want my gun. Yeah. If you want to paint my car white, guess what? I'm going to paint it black. Yeah. Simply because what you've told me now, I can't believe you. Mm-hmm. And that's unfortunate, very sad. And I think it's a healthy distrust that we have. And that's what makes America like very special. And I think if we lose that, we become like everyone else. Yeah. I feel like people don't like, and this is going to sound really reductive and I'm not trying to be insulting, but I don't think people realize that like America was built on like hating government. Yeah, dude. And now we're like, oh no, the government's great because America, we're founded on this government. No. We were founded on like anti-government principles. Right. And I'm a big fan of organization. I think, anarchy and like that's not good. And every civilization has to have organization. And that's why like a company needs organization. The thing is like the openness and transparency of that information is the part that government needs to improve at. And that's where I think any organization that has clear, transparent, and decision-making processes that are open, they'll do well. And that will continue to be the case. That's why like we try to do open book management. I try to run as many of the decisions through the team. Like even today, like we're making a big pivot and testing some of the command center. Like before we make the decision, like there's videos that are going to the team explaining why, explaining the ramifications. I call out what potentially the worst case scenario they're thinking I'm making a decision. I call it out and I just talk about it, right? Instead of just like all the other stuff that's done behind closed doors and you just start to just doubt everything. Like it's not right that I'm like, if someone tells me something, I do it different. Like that's weird. That's dumb. Yeah. And that's what, people on both extremes of the aisle have been cast as when like, because if you're red and you say something, I'll do the opposite. And if you're blue and I'm opposite, like I'm just gonna do the opposite. Like that's not right. There's always a middle ground. And like that's why, unfortunately, it's just weird that like bearing arms has become political. Why in the world, right? It's sad. Yeah, because people don't know what we have in the U.S., dude. It's awesome. It's pretty cool. There's no other country in the world that has what we have. And so when it starts to degrade towards what every other country does have, I just get concerned. It's like, sick. We had something really cool going. Yeah. Well, you know what other countries don't have? Major League Baseball. Oh, baseball's starting. Baseball, baby. What a pivot. Great pivot. Well, they do. They do have baseball. No, they don't Major have League Baseball. Oh, sorry. Nice clarified. No, Japan won the World Baseball Classic, so they're in charge now. That's awesome, they get to decide how the rules go. We'll end with some not financial. This is our longest pod. This is a good pod. Okay, let's wrap it up. Yeah, let's wrap it up. What's your non-financial? I wore the Mariners jersey. Go to an MLB game. Yeah, well, theoretically.
No, opening day is in a couple days, at time of recording.
Okay.
My in-laws bought me some Mariners tickets for this weekend. I'm very excited. I'm a big Mariners guy. But my not financial advice is this, and I'm going to preface. So I'm just going to really drag this out. But I was recently asked by my sister to officiate her wedding.
Oh, yeah, because in Washington State, you can just, get it online.
All right, I have a degree. I'm not ordained, but I have a degree.
But in Washington State, anyone can.
No, 100%. It's like $20. You go online, you just say yes.
Officiate.
So I got asked to officiate, which is be an officiant of a wedding, my sister's wedding. Very excited about that.
Cool.
And then,
that's kind of cool, dude.
Yeah, I'm very excited.
Good for you.
Yeah. It was very cool. I'm honored, to say the least. Very honored. And I gave them homework right away. I was like, well, here's a book. You're gonna read this if I'm gonna officiate your wedding. Here's a book.
You want a good track record, bro. You gotta have a good batting average when you're doing officiating.
Yeah, we'll see.
That's what they should do for officiants. Is you should have to wear your batting average.
Oh, nice.
Or average. We talk about attrition.
Yeah.
You should have to wear or advertise what your average marriage lifespan is.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, this is my debut.
Percentage divorced.
Yeah. This is my debut. It's a 0 average.
It's I'm gonna go with someone who has a better average than 5%, bro.
Yeah. Have you married anyone?
No.
Have you been an officiant?
No.
I'm excited. I mean, I know. Both of us have spoken at funerals. But officiating. It's cool. So, anyways. My non-financial advice. I promise this is all coming together. So my sister asked me to be the officiant at her wedding. Very excited about that. Opening day is coming up. I love baseball. Mariners, favorite sports team of all time. Felix Hernandez, favorite athlete of all time. Love it. And my wife and I created a tradition that I got from a family friend.
Dude, this is a long story.
I'm getting there. My non-financial advice, it all ties together, is make the mundane. If you're in a relationship, you got to make the mundane fun. Okay. And you got to pick little things to make special in your marriage, in your daily life, right? And so this is a piece of advice I got from a family friend because he and his wife love baseball. Every opening day, when he comes home from work, he grills hot dogs, she makes an apple pie, and they watch opening day together. And so that's what my wife and I are going to do on Thursday. She's going to make an apple pie. I'm going to come home and grill hot dogs. And that is what makes America so awesome. It's just another reason that makes America so awesome.
Because we have apple pie, a baseball,
apple pie, baseball, and hot dogs, dude.
Dude, let's go.
I'm stoked. So that's my non-financial advice.
Okay, well, mine's definitely not that exciting.
Thank you all for indulging me. I know it was very
4.4% rate of return. Robinhood, you can just put your money into the brokerage account.
Really?
Don't have to do any stocks. 4.4% return, compounding. Get your money right away in terms of daily. So you don't have to keep it in there long. If you're fearful that something will change, you can pull the money out and get all the interest. 4.4%.
That's cool.
Yeah, dude.
Talk about companies that sell people's data.
Up to 1.5% FDIC insurance. 1.5 million.
That's not bad.
Yeah, which there's some fine print to that.
Yeah,
but
that's fine.
Yeah, 4.4%. All right, that's a long pod, dude. That's over an hour.
Yeah, like and subscribe.